Hey everybody, my name is Ed. Okay, so let's do another random comics walkthrough. So this time we're going to do Ultimate X-Men Annual number 2. This one's written by uh, Robert Kirkman and the artist by Salvador LaRocca. Just to give a little background, the Ultimate line was a line that Marvel Comics started around the early 2000s. And the whole point of it was to kind of do a line of comics featuring their classic characters, but to kind of update the origins and things like that. Uh, they would be done as if they were being created today, as opposed to the early 60s. And, there's going to be no continuity. So the idea is that people excuse me, who might have gotten into the comics because of um, the Bryan Singer X-Men movies or type Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies would have an easy jumping on point. You're not going to be hampered by all this sort of continuity, all the different tie-ins and things like that. You can just pick up the comic book and read it. A lot of what they did worked. Some cases it sort of worked. Some cases it didn't sort of work. I do know that Ultimate Spider-Man was a really big hit. It did really well for Brian Michael Bendis and Mark Bagley, who was the artist. I still, to this day, occasionally I'll see people reading Ultimate Spider-Man trades or whatever. A lot of the elements that were in, they had another one called The Ultimates, which was really Ultimate Avengers. A lot of those elements and story beats and things like that found their way into the Marvel production movies that have been going on for the last, 10 years or so. Um, what else did I want to say that about that? Some of the things kind of worked. Like I said, some of the things they did with Ultimate X-Men and Ultimate Fantastic Four kind of worked. Some of them didn't kind of work. Not they were necessarily particularly bad, but it didn't really seem, in some cases, all they really did was kind of ultimize things for the sake of ultimizing them. So certain characters, they did do some things that were, depending on our point of view, interesting. They kind of brought a little bit more diversity into it. They were able to be a little bit more explicit about certain things. I don't mean necessarily like sex or violence, but for instance, when North Star was first introduced in the universe back in the late 70s, early 80s, they weren't allowed to say they was gay at first, but when he was introduced then, this series, they were able to just be frank about what the character say, well, hey, I'm gay, blah, 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 whatever. So, things like that. Let's see here. What else did I want to say about that? Well, the series, like I said, originally the Ultimate line was doing really well, but after a while, there were things with like delays, you know, little behind the scenes disputes, and then eventually a lot of, like I said, the elements that they had that made the Ultimate Universe unique started finding their way into the 616 line, and the whole thing just kind of stopped having any purpose. So so that's why you get something like the Miles Morales Spider-Man, or something that people liked. So they brought that character over to the 616 universe, but for the most part, this line of comic books is just over with. Okay, so let's kind of jump into it. Like I said, it's written by Robert Kirkman. Robert Kirkman, I think, had just started Invincible, which he was starting to get critical reviews, good critical reviews for, and Walking Dead as well. But he hadn't quite become Robert Kirkman at that point. He was just getting known. He was becoming a known entity. And then around this time, so he's doing those comics, but he's also doing stuff for like Marvel and whatnot. So let's just kind of look here. So here, basically, we're starting out with a flashback. And in this version of the Ultimates, Nightcrawler is working for Weapon X. Weapon X is kind of this kind of covert special forces, wetworks uh, organization for the Canadian government. and and where they capture mutants and things, and they force them to become super soldiers and assassins and things like that. So that's one change they made with this version of Nightcrawler. In the regular traditional Nightcrawler, he was a guy who grew up in a circus or whatever. But here, like I said, he's been trained, or he's been brainwashed to be a government assassin. You see him going after his target. He's shooting down some guards here, and then he kills this. You kind of figure, second world ruler. I don't know if he's the president or whatever, but he's obviously somebody for some authority. Like, mission accomplished. Okay, so that's supposed to be a couple years ago. Oh, the whole everyone's doing it thing when it comes to being a teenager and getting high, just another stereotype. So this is a just say no, kids. Just say no to drugs, kids. Here we're says 1 month ago. We're at the X Mansion. Rogue is talking about how Gambit has died, but she had absorbed his powers, so she's walking around with Gambit superpowers, and she's not too sure how she's going to deal with it. Now, Dazzler here. Dazzler, instead of being a pop singer or a disco singer, is this is Brian Michaels Bendis' version of a punk rocker. And she's kind of got a bad attitude. She's kind of sneers at people, stuff like that. You don't see too much of it in this comic, but in earlier stories, she kind of has a bad attitude. But anyway, she kind of got hurt in some previous battle, so she's in a hospital. So Kurt is just kind of watching over her and things like that, and he's kind of become obsessed with her. And he kind of tells her, "Oh no, we've got to get out of here. I'm going to save you." And he teleports her to some cave. And he's basically telling her, "Ooh, there's bad things going on. I don't know who attacked us. I'm just here to save you. And we just got to stay in this cave." All right. Okay. So here's some stuff. Professor X and Ultimate Logan having a chit chat. Then Professor X gets the news that Dazzler has disappeared from the hospital. And again here, we cut back to Kurt in the cave with Dazzler. And, he's like, "Oh, this, that, and the other thing, I really care about you. I want to protect you," stuff like that. And Dazzler's like, "Well, that's sweet, but, I kind of have this thing going on with Warren," who's another X-Men character. And it's become clear that Nightcrawler is just sort of lying to her, and he's got this unhealthy obsession, and he's spirited her away. He's basically kidnapped her, thinking that if he keeps her there and lies to her, maybe eventually she's going to fall for him. At this point, the X-Men figure out that, Dazzler's missing, so we have to go find her. And let's see, it's WWE toys, best of the 70s, 80s, and 90s. All right. Okay, so here's Kurt coming back, and they're like, "Oh, Dazzler's missing. We need to go find her." "Oh, yes, of course." Ad for Midtown Comics with Kitty Pryde. I'm pretty sure that's a John Cassaday drawing. So anyway, Kurt kind of touches Logan. Logan doesn't say anything yet. He's just kind of thinking, giving him that look over there. All right. Civil War comic. Okay. Yep. And for Matt Fraction's version of the Punisher, Heroes for Hire. Jimmy Palmiotti and Justin Gray. Okay. And yeah. Okay. Alrighty. Buy it now. All right. So anyway, everybody leaves the room. Logan's like, yeah, dude, Kurt's behind this. I can smell Dazzler's scent on him. And it's fresh. Okay, so they figure out what to do. Kurt goes back to the cave. Everybody's kind of followed him. All right. And let's see here. Oh, more ads for more comics. Yin Jack miniseries. Hey, I bought that. I actually read it. I actually did a review on it on my channel a couple of years ago. Some Wolverine stuff. Ms. Marvel. Issue 100 of Ultimate Spider-Man. Okay. So anyway, they get Dazzler away, and they try to tell Kurt, Nightcrawler, you're not well. You've had some sort of breakdown or whatever, but you know what? We're going to have to try to get you some help here. And then he just kind of lashes out. All right. Because we have kind of a interesting fight going on here. Of course, they don't really want to hurt him. But still, they decide they can't let him continue. Kurt's not really holding back at all. He's just going full force on everyone. All right. An ad for Ultimate Fantastic Four, along with a Honda ad. Okay. All right. Rogue tries to attack him with her Gambit powers, but the Gambit powers have worn off. Ultraviolet. How come? Now this is interesting because Mila, what's her name? Mila Jojovich's name is not. Oh, it's not Mila Jovovich. No, it is Mila Jovovich. Mila Jojovich's name is not on this ad anywhere, and I can't even read it on the. Oh, here it is. I can't read it. I can't read it. Never mind. But it's interesting that Mila Jojovich's name is not on the ad. If you look really, really hard, you can see it on the box covers here for the DVDs. I did see this movie. It's a movie with a lot of flaws, but it's kind of entertaining, in its own way. Anyway, some more fight stuff. And we basically break up the fight because of Dazzler. And then Rogue grabs him. And it's like, oh. And she absorbs enough of his energy or of his powers to just kind of like make him pass out. But she's overcome with all the crazy thoughts that are going on in Nightcrawler's head. Okay, so they grab him, they pick him up. And then they're trying to decide what they're going to do. Professor X is like, oh, we'll just get him some help. Dodger's like, screw that. This guy kidnapped me. You just want to fix him? He should go to jail and fry. He's like, oh, no. And she said, I quit. All I wanted to do was be a rock star anyway. So he kind of walks out. All right. And then here's Rogue. Rogue goes to visit Nightcrawler in his bed. She's like, yeah, I know what it's like being a mutant. People think you're a monster. Well, you know what? I read your mind when I absorbed your powers. I know you're a monster. And then we see Nightcrawler crying. Oh, how sad. The tragedy, the burden of being a mutant superhero. It's not bad. It's a pretty okay comic. Oh, let's see here. What else we got here? Ads for V from Vendetta for the creators of the Matrix trilogy. All right. People should not be afraid of their governments. Alrighty. Backup story about why Professor Cat is named Mystique. Don't really care. Also, we have an ad for Halo Comics. Yeah, and that's it. Just a two-page story. Zoom. I'm not sure if I remember this movie. This is what do you call? Tim Allen. It looks like it's kind of a kid superhero movie. And there's an ad for the ad for Dodge with the Hulk in it. Okay. All right. So that's it. Pretty fun comic. Well, fun might not be the right word for it, but I think it was pretty well written. It was well crafted, well paced. You got some interesting characterizations, some emotional beats. I really do like Salvador Larroca's art style here. Nice, clean, and just well crafted. So okay. So then, yeah, that's it. Thank you very much for watching. Everybody have a good day.